The night the scream echoed through the east wing of the Hawthorne mansion, it was sharp enough to cut through marble walls and thick curtains, and Maria felt it pierce her chest like a blade because she knew that sound did not belong in a house built to silence pain with money. Maria was just the maid, hired quietly, paid modestly, expected to clean, to disappear, to move like a shadow between rooms where chandeliers glowed and power lived. The mansion belonged to Jonathan Hawthorne, a self-made billionaire whose name dominated financial headlines, a man who conquered markets but had failed to conquer time for his only son, Leo, a 6-year-old boy with wide eyes and a voice that trembled when adults raised theirs. Jonathan traveled constantly, trusting that the best money could buy would keep his child safe, and that trust had a name, Evelyn Cross, the nanny with perfect credentials, impeccable posture, and a smile that never reached her eyes. From the day Maria arrived, she noticed small things others ignored: how Leo flinched when Evelyn entered a room, how his laughter died mid-breath, how he spilled drinks and apologized before anyone scolded him, how bruises bloomed where sleeves carefully covered them. Maria told herself it wasn't her place, the mansion had rules, and the fastest way out was to break them. But that scream changed everything. It came again, muffled now, followed by a hissed command, cruel and cold, and Maria's feet moved before her fear could argue. She reached the nursery door, ajar by an inch, and through it she saw Leo pressed against the wall, small hands shielding his head, tears streaking his cheeks, while Evelyn towered over him with a clenched jaw, gripping his arm hard enough to leave fingerprints, spitting words about obedience and punishment, about how weak children ruined women's lives. Maria dropped her cleaning cloth. It hit the floor with a soft sound that thundered in the moment. Evelyn turned, rage flashing before her mask snapped back into place, and she told Maria to leave, that this was discipline, that Mr. Hawthorne trusted her. Maria didn't think. She stepped between them, wrapped Leo into her arms, felt his heart racing against her chest, and for the first time said no in a house that never asked her opinion. Evelyn threatened her job, her future, her dignity, but Maria raised her voice, calling the head housekeeper, the guards, anyone who would listen, because silence was the nanny's greatest weapon. People came running, lies tried to stand, but truth has a way of shaking walls. Leo wouldn't let go of Maria. He buried his face into her uniform like it was a lifeline, and the sight cracked something open in the witnesses. Security escorted Evelyn away, still shouting about authority and misunderstanding, but the house had changed. It was breathing differently. When Jonathan Hawthorne returned early the next morning, summoned by urgent calls he initially brushed aside as overreactions, he expected a nuisance and found devastation. He listened to reports, watched recovered footage from hidden hallway cameras, saw the way his son recoiled, and then he saw Leo run past him, past the father who bought everything but presents, straight into Maria's arms. The billionaire sank into a chair as if the weight of his empire finally landed on his shoulders. He learned that fear hides best behind professionalism, that cruelty often wears a clean uniform, and that love sometimes comes from the least powerful hands. Evelyn was arrested that day. Investigations uncovered a trail of complaints buried by agencies dazzled by donations and influence. The mansion grew quieter, not from control but from healing. Jonathan asked Maria to stay, to be more than a maid, to be the constant his son needed, and she agreed with one condition, that Leo would never again be taught fear in the name of discipline. Days turned into weeks. Leo began to sleep through the night, to draw suns instead of storms, to laugh without checking who was watching. Jonathan canceled trips, learned bedtime stories, learned that listening mattered more than winning, and he learned it because a maid had listened when a child screamed. Maria never wanted praise, but she became the heart of a house that finally understood what safety meant. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you that courage often comes from ordinary people who choose to act, then subscribe to this channel for more powerful, emotional stories that prove kindness can change lives, because the next scream might need someone like you to listen.